Is it too late now to say sorry? 'Cause I know that I let you down. Is it too late to say sorry now? Sometimes it is too late to say sorry. But let's not jump the gun here and give my thoughts without even watching the video first.
You naughty, naughty.
We're going to be taking a look at the person who was behind the stolen images from the Julia Catfish video that coerced an 18-year-old into sending intimate pictures. That episode, you remember it. We're going to be taking a look at the apology from the guy behind those pictures. His name is Adrian. Now, I did actually, before this, watch Julia's response video on the screen right now. Here is a screenshot of it, and of course, it will be in the description box if you want to go and check it out as well. She left a comment on a recent video asking me to either make a commentary on it or respond to it. So I did watch that video first. However, it doesn't go into as much detail as I expect from this apology video that we're going to watch. Now, if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, we're about to watch it at the exact same time. I'll get into what I commented on Julia's response video at the end of this, because it does have some thoughts of mine that I just want to see first if I'm justified in saying them without watching this. Shut the hell up and let's watch. Actually, before we get right into it, really quickly, and please, trust me, it'll be quick.
Really?
Despite what rambling rat boy usually does. I said in previous video,
I know, I'm sorry.
I've said before that I don't really see why he would have to come on the channel to apologize to her or speak to her face to face. However, it did seem from Julia's response video that they're still friends and stuff. So I just think right now, before watching the video, that my thoughts are this is sort of damage limitation in a way, rather than a sincere apology. But obviously, we'll find out together. Just also really quickly, I cannot emphasize enough just how much you should not go and seek out Adrian or his family members, his friends, etc., and leave messages of any kind. Just leave the two of the individuals at play in this story to do what they do. You can have an opinion, that's perfectly fine. But as I mentioned later on as well, I disagree heavily with all the people who go and harass him or his family through messages, etc. So just chill out, get a grip of yourself. Surely you have better things to be doing in your life. And yeah, I think it's very important to just let that rip from the start like a fart. But seriously, stop it.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Adrian. I'm glad that you reached out to us, Adrian, and you wanted to meet up with all of us. First things first, why don't you share with us why you decided to reach out?
Okay, so there's a lot of topics. Well, honestly, like 2 or 3 out of the entire video that I watched, which were like misconceptions. It was not right. It was, I guess, kind of incorrect on the substance. Like, for example, in the video, it said that you guys said that I could be 25. I see people saying I'm 19. People saying I'm above 20. I'm not even 19 yet. I'm currently still 18.
You know,
Me and
hold on a second there. I don't think really what age you are factors into the creepy behavior that you've displayed in catfishing someone. But I do understand if you were a 25-year-old coercing a 17/18-year-old, it is another story entirely. So I guess clear your name in that regard.
Julia met when we were both 17. So, like, the misconception of people thinking that I intentionally targeted Julia because I was an older man, I'm not. we're both the same age. We're both the exact same age.
Good on
Another
you, man.
part is me forcing her to send anything. I have never done that in my life. Julia can also say for me. Throughout all our videos, throughout all of our chatting through the past year and like 3 months that we have been contacting each other, I have never made her send anything. It's kind of just like in the moment type stuff. I'm not here to say that what I did is right. I'm not here to say that what I did here is not bad.
Thankfully, you've come to some sort of sense on that regard. However, I think it's very important that we talk about emotional pressure. Physical pressure, we know it, we've seen it. Someone quite literally telling you, you must do this, otherwise XYZ. However, emotional pressure is a very real thing, especially in abusive relationships where one particular party feels like they can't do something without XYZ happening with the other person. For example here, quite literally Julia in that original video stated she sent such images because she didn't want to upset the person who was receiving these images. And in this case, it's Adrian here, just obviously behind someone's stolen photos. If you are at a point where you're doing something for someone because of the guilt that you would feel if you didn't do this thing, I'm sorry, but the foundation of pressure, emotional pressure at that, it already exists. Maybe directly you didn't say, please send me these images, but if she feels like she has to because you will get angry or upset or anything of that kind, pressure is there. I hope that makes some sort of sense. Now, I really hope everyone can take that forward with them in whatever relationship they have going forward. It can be platonic as well. If you're doing something out of guilt so you can feel better, or in this case, the other person feels better, and you're not doing it because you truly want to do something, then I'm sorry to say, you've been pressured to do this. So whilst Adrian can say that he didn't physically coerce her into this, in my opinion, which is what every single video is, I must stress this, it's just my opinion. People are going to do whatever they're going to do. My advice, quote unquote, and 2 pence, right? That's what they are. It's 2 pence. Take it with a pinch of salt, of course. I believe there is coercion there. So I'm not really going to sway from that opinion.
It's horrible. What I did is wrong. What I did is it's just unhuman.
Facts.
I understand that. I came to that conclusion more than a year ago. So
Facts.
I just wanted to come on here and give my part of the story and set a few things straight.
That's valid.
Wow.
I know you and Julia have already spoken about this whole situation before us meeting today. Publicly, is there anything you'd like to say to Julia now that this is being recorded?
Honestly, as Julia already know, I've apologized 1,000 times.
Wow.
And Julia can say multiple times that she has forgiven me. But then again, it comes down to myself where I don't really forgive myself for what I did to her. What I've been doing was over a year ago, which cannot be brought back. That time is gone. That's a whole year of her life and being lied to for that long. And I wish I was able to bring it back. I wish I can give her back that year. I do regret my actions. And I wanted to come straight to her. I wanted to tell her a long time ago. I wanted to tell her 3 weeks after meeting her. But the reason why I didn't is because I figured it would be better if I just leave. Like kind of like ghosting, which I also know is kind of, messed up.
Yes.
But I was trying to fight myself every single day on how I can stop this from happening, from talking to her, meeting with her, and just all around. I want the least amount of pain to be on Julia.
Well, thank you for meeting with us. I mean, just speaking for myself, I appreciate you coming forward and doing this, offering this public apology to Julia.
Look, I understand. I guess I wouldn't say I have much respect here, to be honest, because if the foot is on the other shoe? What? I don't know what I said there. But if Julia is my daughter in this instance, and you've done this to my daughter, you can shove any sort of apology where the sun don't shine. Okay, I don't really want to hear anything from you, let's be entirely honest. But that's just my opinion. That's just what I would do, how I think I would feel in such an instance if my daughter, my son, was targeted by anything like this. I find it, I guess, commendable that he has come on here to publicly apologize, and so far it does seem sincere. But at the end of the day, do we really know? Much like Michelle previously, who apologized, I gave her kudos for coming on and sort of apologizing for her behavior and how she came across on camera. But did she do that sincerely? You know, we'll never really know, I guess, because of the public nature of these YouTube videos. You know, do people apologize for the sake of, you know, wanting to correct behavior? Or are they apologizing to sort of quell any negativeness around their name? We'll never really know. However, I must reiterate that you wanting to sort of protect Julia from any sort of pain or whatever, it's baffling you say that when you did what you did in the first place. Now, this is similar, very different example, of course, but it's similar to when people say that they love someone, but they've cheated, it was a mistake, etc. I don't think it's a mistake to cheat on someone, much like I don't think you can say you don't want to hurt someone whilst catfishing them and coercing them out of nude photos, which I haven't really heard an apology in that regard yet, but I guess it's kind of underlying through his actions in a way. But outright, I'd like for him to apologize for that. But, you know, look, let me know your thoughts. I think it is good of him to publicly apologize. Sincerity-wise, if it is, we'll never know. I just don't think that you wanting to not hurt her is you know, coincides with ghosting. Because from the original video, once again, you did pop up on random occasions to start this talk of intimacy and, you know, wanting these pictures. So you ghosted to not hurt her, but at the same time, you came back, I guess, when you were in that mood, in the heat of the moment, eh? That's not helping anyone. That's, au contraire, that's making things worse, but we'll carry on.
With that being said, I do have a few questions, because from the moment that Julia brought us this story, I'll have to admit, I was personally determined to spend as many hours as possible to find who the real person was behind a PlayStation username. I did everything, Adrian. Like, I spent weeks looking for you. And you understand the reason why she was looking to find answers, right?
Yeah, I completely understand every single action that Julia made. I was fully supportive of it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I know that I was the guy that was doing all the damage.
Correct.
But when it comes down to it, Julia did deserve the truth. She deserved the truth from the first 3 days meeting her. And I do regret that I never gave her the
first
hard
day
proof and truth that I was not that man in the picture, that I was not the person that she expected me to be. One thing I would say is that I told Julia a lot of stuff about my life. I never really lied to her about anything other than the way I look.
Is this supposed to be good?
When I'm meeting her, I was just in a really, really dark spot.
Can I ask, why did you use a picture of someone else?
Okay, before we get into that, because that question there, I've said in a previous video that I anticipate when they were discussing this apology meetup, I anticipate he will use insecurities as his reasoning for this, and he found her attractive or something, and he didn't think that she would like him for him and XYZ. That's what I presume he will say, right, before watching any more of this. However, can we just draw the line in the sand somewhere? I'm not really a fan of that as a sort of excuse as to why he was doing what he was doing. I didn't tell her any lies. You know, everything I was saying was real. Yeah, but you were lying about who you are. So, again, to me, if this is my daughter, I don't care if you told the truth. Man, like, I understand you're young. I understand, and I hope that you've learnt from this, right? Because this is a very shitty thing to do, and if you think you can just navigate the rest of relationships like this, lying, but hey, I told a little bit of a truth in there somewhere, that's abusive. You're gonna head down a very slippery path, and just at this particular moment, I just think it's very important that I say this. I don't necessarily agree that Julia has forgiven him, right? I mentioned in my comment on her video, and again, we'll get to that towards the end. I don't think everyone deserves a second chance. Okay, I don't know if that's harsh. I know he's young. Editing H here, just to clarify, when I say not everyone deserves a second chance, in this particular context with Adrian, I don't believe he deserves a quote-unquote second chance with Julia. Yeah, he's young. Hopefully he's going to learn from this. You know, in the future, you can't hold this against him for the rest of his life. But in terms of Julia, and in terms of someone wronging you, it's not always a good thing to give another person a second chance, because then there might be another chance, a fourth, a fifth, and then you're really heading down a very slippery slope with this person, just forgiving them for everything. So I think it's important that I interjected here to clarify a second chance with Julia. However, where are people going to learn consequences if they are just forgiven at every nook and cranny? Because that in itself is setting them down a very bad path. That you can do what you want, and the sweetness, and you could argue maybe naivety of Julia will just forgive you, and we'll still be friends and play games together and stuff. I feel like it's setting him up in a bad way, because he might think this is how everyone should act. And it's definitely not. All right, please everyone, if you do have anyone young in your life and they're still framing their mindset on how to navigate life, but even if they are not particularly younger generation, please don't feel like you have to accept someone's apology just because it's a nice thing to do. In my opinion, I wouldn't have forgave him. But again, as I said earlier, people are going to do what they're going to do. And I apologize right now. It is a lot of rambling, but I feel very strongly about this just because a lot of stories in particular where men just be creepy, boys, if you want to say he's a boy, I think it's important to learn from an early age creepy behavior and where it's happened, how to recognize it, and how to address it early on, because as people grow older, and this boys will be boys notion, once that guy gets to a certain age, they're gonna think they have some kind of control over women. Oh, but back in the day, people are, they forgave me and all this and stuff, and they get aggressive, and you know what I'm trying to say? I just don't think this is a case for apologizing, but hey, look, Julia, you're going to do what you're going to do. We'll get into what I said in the comment regarding that anyway, but we'll carry on. Goodness, I might have rambled maybe more than usual.
I'm sorry.
So, a few weeks before meeting Julia, I was cheated on by my girlfriend on my best friend, which really damaged my mental health and the way I looked at myself.
There you go.
Then also dealing with family
Insecurities.
members that tend to under the influence.
Sorry, something under the influence. I'll go backwards. There's the insecurity I mentioned, right? The way he was looking at himself, I presume appearance-wise.
Also dealing with family members that tend to under the influence, and they used to take out their stuff on me. So being cheated on, being through a lot of issues with my family, and just but my friends too. My friends, or a friend at that moment was really pulling on my mental health. And when I met Julia, it felt really nice meeting her. I felt it was an amazing experience. I enjoyed every single conversation, every single word I said towards her. But at the moment, I was like in the mindset that I'm not worth her. So I need to find something and get something that I can show to her that will make it more worth it for her. Because in my eyes, I wasn't worth anything. So
I
that's the reason why I did it. And I do regret it a lot.
What's making you most upset about this?
A bit of a rhetorical question, but I do think, and I do understand why he's done that, and I figured insecurities would be at play. I hope his family life is okay with what he was describing there, but I still don't think that's a genuine excuse or reasoning to do what was done. I'm really sorry. Please, everyone, if you're thinking what I'm saying is harsh because he's young, please, we shouldn't be at a stage in society where we have to say, but imagine if this was your family member. Imagine if this was this or that, to empathize with someone. And it is unfortunate that sometimes we do have to use putting ourselves in this person's shoes as an example. But please just think about if this was your daughter and, some guy is using his insecurities, which should be addressed himself and worked on with a professional if need be, as the reasoning behind coercing nude photos out of your child. I'm sorry if this is coming across harsh. If this is coming across harsh, say that 3 times really fast. You can't. It's coming across harsh then. I really can't put it in any sort of nicer way, to be honest. Some things just have to be laid down on the line bluntly. I don't feel it's a valid reasoning to do to someone this. Work on your demons yourself, right? I always say this with romance scam victims themselves. If you're fighting battles and you're not winning these battles, please take time to yourself, right? Learn, find it within yourself to be content with yourself before moving on to any sort of relationship romantically. So, hopefully that makes sense. Editing H here, just wanted to chime in because I thought of a question whilst watching this particular part back, and I'd love everyone's thoughts on this. So please, if you could timestamp and let me know what you're thinking about this. When he says she made him feel good, and similar things to that, I understand. I guess she was an escape for him, considering everything he was going through. However, I feel like we crossed boundaries once we asked for nude images. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've crossed boundaries by catfishing anyway, right? But we crossed even further when we were asking for nude images, because I'm struggling to understand how that would benefit his mental health. Again, I understand she sort of gave him a release from the environment that he was in at that particular moment, the mental state he may have been in. But the nude images? Why? Right? You still, as I mentioned earlier, this emotional pressure, she felt like she had to give these images because she felt you would get angry, but also this sadness of what you were going through. I'll cheer him up, I'll send these images. That's emotional pressure a little bit. but that might just be my opinion. I just think it's really difficult for me to articulate in this moment what I'm trying to say. But I understand she was his emotional release in a way. But you crossed the line when you asked for nude images, because I don't see how that benefits your mental health here. Why couldn't you have just stayed talking as friends and play games together? I understand maybe you were attracted to her and you wanted to speak to her romantically, but why risk losing a friend like this with this creepy behavior? I hope what I'm trying to say makes sense. It's odd. It is manipulative. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, what made me upset is my family were getting in the mix. They were getting threats. They were getting horrible messages every single day.
See that
and it started moving to my friends.
I don't agree
and
with that.
also, it kind of came to me that I lost Julia as a friend, not only as what we were, but as a friend, and I didn't like that much. It just put a lot of damage in my life on top of my friends, on top of my family, and that's just the main reason why I reached out. It's because I want to give Julia a apology that really meant from something from me, but also to keep my family out of this, keep my friends out of this, because they are being horribly harassed from the people that are watching the video.
How has your family been throughout this?
I'm interested to find out more. However, I think the people who go and search for family members, friends, I think these people have too much time on their hands. Okay, on one hand, there is you thinking that you are protecting Julia in this instance by, I don't know, going after his family. Don't really know how you think you are helping anyone in that instance. And then there's crossing a line. And I'm on the side that you're crossing lines here. Don't see what his friends have to do with anything. I don't see what family members have to do with anything. So whoever these people are, I think you've got too much time on your hands. You can disagree with someone. You can sort of not be on board with their actions and what they're saying. But if you take things further and sort of, I don't even know what you're really trying to achieve here, but if you're going way past social media in itself and harming people who have nothing to do with this, you need to get a grip of yourself. Okay, I disagree with a lot of what Adrian has done here. And look, I think it's important I preface, I think his apology does seem sincere. If yes or if no, I can't be 100% sure. I feel like it is. But at the same time, I ain't gonna go searching for his life outside of this and sending him messages, etc., etc. Get a grip of yourself, please, if you're doing that.
I mean, obviously they're aware of what's going on now, and your friends. How has this impacted your family and your friends?
With my friends, so we've been friends for about 7 years now, for a long time.
Who?
I want to say they forgave me because it is a horrible act. I had already had a long, like 10-hour conversation with them all about every single decision. The main reason why they're reaching out, like for an example, inside of you guys' Instagram, my friend has been commenting on your videos. He's not getting mad. He's not getting angry. He's just like trying to, like, he's eager for this interview to happen because he wants to clear my name, help me clear my name. Because the things that we're being attacked on isn't just for the catfish. People think I'm a 30-year-old man creeping on a 17-year-old person, which I'm not.
Okay,
and they also think I'm some insane monster that forced Julia to do many, many things that she'd never want to do.
Once again,
which I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't think I've ever made Julia feel that way.
Okay, well, look, you have your opinion. I'm gonna have my opinion. Maybe you didn't physically tell her in one way or another that you need these images, but emotionally, from literally the original video, she felt you would get upset if you didn't get those images. So emotional pressure is already there. But I've made my point on that already. I think it's commendable that you do have such a friend who wants you to clear your name. And this here is another part where I'm a bit iffy on. Let me know your thoughts. Have you just come on here to clear your name, or have you come here to genuinely apologize? Again, we'll never know, I guess, right?
And if I did, I'm truly sorry if I did. With my family, we already had a long conversation about this whole thing. They understand that what happened could be wrong. They understand that they're part in the issue of all this. We were having more of a harder time than we were, because as you guys saw, our place burned down about 2 months ago. So we're still trying to recover from that.
Of course.
So with this whole thing, it's just
condolences on that.
Put more inside the fire. Put more gasoline inside the fire.
In regard to your home being burned down, very sorry to hear that. What do you think of everything Adrian's saying, Julia?
Everything he's saying right now, he already told me. He apologized a lot. He explained to me why he did everything he had done. And I understand. I get it. People have told me I was being a hypocrite for, let's say, rejecting the way he looked. But it was not that. I really don't care how he looks like. He's still like a really close friend of mine.
Wow.
We've been closer than ever, honestly.
Goodness.
And honestly, I don't want to lose him.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
And I understand why he did what he had done.
Bloody.
As someone who also went through really terrible stuff, I understand it. I've been in the same mindset of just trying to hide away maybe and just run away from everything, or even hiding myself as someone I'm not. And I've done it. I'm not going to say I haven't.
Well, you catfish someone?
I forgive him, even though he has heard that like 20 times now. I really don't want to lose his friendship.
Well, this is really interesting to me.
Together, like a lot.
Can I, again, look, who knows what I'm saying, if it's agreeable or not. But I have to remember that Julia, once again, is young, right? And she's not going to have the same cynical mindset that I have. Growing up, I really didn't trust a lot of people. My circle was very small. And now that I've gotten older, the circle is even smaller, right? So her mindset's going to be completely different to mine. And at the end of the day, look, she's going to do what she's going to do. However, I think it's very important for me to say, we got to be careful with who we are keeping close to us. The way she's described this friendship, it's very interesting to me. I'm not sure if it's just Julia feeling this way because they play games together online, and I don't know. I can't come up with any sort of reasoning because I'm not in their lives. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, right? I don't know how they speak to each other, etc., etc. But I do think it's very important to say that we should be careful with who we keep close to us. Because whilst I understand her forgiving him, I think there is a level of naivety at play here. Because we've forgiven someone breaking trust in such a manner and using terms like, I don't want to lose his friendship, we're very close. Earlier when I was talking about sort of we're creating this environment that he might believe when he grows older that he can do what he wants, and people must forgive him, right? That's the sort of environment I believe we're creating here. If it's right or I'm wrong, right? That's life, who knows? But I just don't think this is healthy. From such an early age to be exposed to such forgiving nature, I think it's bad. I think he will expect this in future relationships. If this is harsh or not, please let me know. But to be honest, I believe people should be like this. He's going to expect forgiveness when it's not warranted. And people have every right to not forgive him. and I fear he might take it the wrong way. It is upsetting to see this, because whilst I appreciate, we're just here, everyone's apologizing, it's Disney Channel movie, it's very hard friendship. We'll carry on.
It's great. I speak for him as well, that just really want everyone to see this. Not just like the small group, like the members of the channel. No, we want everyone to see this, because it's just important for the both of us to actually, like, for everyone to know this.
Adrian, did you ever think that anybody would find out who you really were behind that profile?
It came across my mind a lot during the time of talking to Julia, and the information that I gave Julia about me, like about my life, about what's going on, I kind of directed it to where it wasn't me. Like when my house burned down, I brought it up to Julia, but I said it was a family member's house. Anything major happened that would be known, like on the news or anything like public, I explained it as if it was one of my friends or someone that was not me. From you guys figuring it out, I kind of knew it was going to happen one day. So that was the kind of reason why I wanted to cut it off with Julia before that day came. For an example, like 6 to 7 months ago, I tried to completely get off the internet, get off my game, get off any kind of form of social media.
I think it's important, maybe it's just me, but he wanted to cut it off before he got found out. I just think it's important that that's pretty much what he said.
So you guys finding out, I knew it was going to happen one day. I just wanted to at least end it before that day came.
And you already know this. The reason why we're all here is because we didn't know who you were. Just to speak to the fact that you mentioned people think that you're older. You're not. But when we were searching for you, we didn't know what we were going to find. We didn't know who this person was. We hear a voice. You do have a more mature voice, I might add. We weren't sure what we were going to find. And to be honest with you, our team was concerned if she was talking to someone much older and that was taking advantage of her.
You would be concerned.
When we are investigating, we just don't know what we're going to find when we start digging in. And we did find you. We found your profile. We found who you really were. But that still didn't give us any context as to how old you were. We had an idea, but I'm glad that you were able to clear that up here. And I guess the other question I have is, have you ever done this before? Have you ever spoken to somebody using a different profile,
you'd probably say no,
image, or alias?
I regrettably I did it to one person.
Oh, what
But before it got any further than just us chatting, I ended up not talking to him ever again.
Okay, should I clap for you there? That you stopped on that occasion? That's concerning, no? He's done this before. He's done it again with Julia. And you see what I mean? When I say we're creating this environment that he thinks this is okay because people will just forgive him, it's fine. This is bad. This is really bad, everyone. I can't understate this. That's concerning. I was hoping he'd bloody say no. Kudos, I guess, for being honest, but it's also concerning that you've done this before.
We only spoke for about 1 week, and I cut it off.
That's still a long
So
time.
you see then how much trouble this can get you into if you're online talking to people
Why are we
using
smiling about
different
this?
profiles. Like someone that you might do this to will end up like, Julia, this is the reason why we're here. Coming forward, hey, look, I want to find this mystery man behind the profile, People think that they're anonymous online, but there are, like my husband calls it, breadcrumbs. And that's all we did is we followed the breadcrumbs and it led us to who you really were. And
You're saying, listen, this is a horrible version of Hansel and Gretel, but they got put in an oven, so actually that's quite horrible, but...
What did that just mean?
Sorry, everyone. Sorry I've perhaps talked more than usual. Sorry I'm, that incoherent noise, but I just feel very strongly about this because I hate to see anyone in such a position, but I just even more hate it when I see young people. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not bloody, I'm not the age of their parents or something, right? But I still feel that from early we need to be educating people, you know, we need to be getting them on the right path as early as possible. Not saying you can't come back later on in life and fix up straight and narrow and all that stuff. But it's just better early on before someone else gets hurt in the process, before you realize, shit, I gotta change my ways.
If I can recommend anything, it's just be yourself,
Facts.
Adrian, and don't pretend to be anyone else. Just be yourself.
But he's done
you know,
this
there's
before,
going to be
man.
people out there that don't like you. There are people out there that don't like me. They don't like the way I look. They don't like my clothes. They don't like my voice. It doesn't matter. You are you. Just be yourself.
One thing I wanted to get straight is that I saw in the video you guys saw a person on Roblox or something like that. That wasn't me. So I understand that there's some people probably trying to text that person, trying to make contact. That's not me.
What?
I haven't played Roblox in like 4 or 5 years. So I don't want anyone harassing that guy or girl or whoever it is.
Oh,
So
don't
that's just one thing I wanted to get straight, is that was not me.
Someone is pretending to be him on Roblox. Whoever that person is, you got a sad life as well. Get a grip of yourself. Yeah, I'd like to become a catfisher. I'll pretend to be him. Huh? I don't understand.
Facebook page. All I'm asking is just stop bothering my dad. He's not part of this.
Facts.
And that's a valid point. We're hoping that we're going to use this video to bring an awareness. We don't want people to harass you. That was never our intention. We never wanted the video to entice people to harass or stalk anybody. We appreciated you coming forward and sharing all this information.
You know, it's a year
Did
of
he
talking
share
to him
anything?
almost daily. Me just getting to know him every day. We were chatting a few minutes ago, and we said, like, we probably know more about each other than about ourselves. Honestly, losing that is not gonna feel nice. You know, that's why I would be so upset whenever he would leave, because I didn't want to lose him, because he was like such an important person for me. He still is, you know.
See, that's the emotional pressure I was talking about. I like everything I'm saying. It's like they're backing it up, right? That's the emotional pressure I was talking about. She didn't want to lose him. Whilst he physically didn't pressure her, you can't tell me he didn't know that she was attached, even to the pictures he was using, right? You can't tell me he wasn't aware of this. Love being talked about, right? There was mentions of I love you, and you telling me you didn't know that she was this attached. That's where the emotional pressure comes in. It's too much for me, this. I feel like Julia will learn, hopefully in the future, that this has been a very severe case of manipulation. Yes, he's young, right? Cool, I get it. He's young. Maybe he doesn't know everything. Maybe what he thinks he's doing is correct. I don't know, all right? But I hope she realizes later on that she's actually kind of been swindled into still being his friend.
Even if we don't play as much, you know, even if we don't talk as much, you know, this might like get us a bit together. I understand like his reasons. I really do. I was supporting him like all the way through coming here and just clearing up things, really, because that's what mattered to me. Because even in the live stream, I mentioned that I didn't want anyone to bother his family. That's like not the point of it. And I stated again, do not go bothering his family. Do not harass them. Do not stalk them.
I don't even know how people find
That's
these
understandable. Yep. I'm glad you shared that, Julia, and I'm glad that you're able to see the positivity in this whole thing.
So that's the whole reason why I was more keen on trying to fix this a long time ago. I've been getting a lot of help. I recently had a religious breakthrough, so I'm going to church and talking to my peers at the church about this whole situation. And so for on that part of getting mental health issue, I have been getting some help with that.
I hope it's with a professional therapist as well. Okay, it's all well and good. You're finding a religious breakthrough. However, I've seen many stories, and I'm not saying this is the case with Adrian, but I've seen many stories of people who do bad things, and then when they turn to religion for one reason or another. Maybe they've grifted. Who knows, right? You know the type of people I'm talking about right now. They use religion as a crutch. Everyone forgives them, quote unquote, everyone anyway, not everyone. And then they go about life thinking that they've never done anything wrong, etc., etc. So I hope you're doing this again sincerely, but I hope you're seeking professional support with a counselor, a therapist as well, because this is not a normal thing to be doing. Just saying.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. If you guys need anything, just let us know. Well, I really thank you guys
what happened there?
for meeting with me. Adrian, I appreciate you reaching out to us and giving us that clarity and clearing everything up for us. We did have some questions, concerns, and I'm really thankful that you came on today. And also, it was your idea to bring Julie on and apologize to her. So we really appreciate that.
I mean,
and
I
then
appreciate
everybody
that
out
as
there
well.
watching this, there's no need to reach out to Adrian or his family. We don't need anybody harassing, threatening. That's not what the video was about. It was to bring awareness, and we were able to find who this person really was behind the profile, and here he is, and we just don't need any negativity like that.
Oh, we don't. Well, yes, I get it, actually. I mean, I was going to be a bit cynical and say we don't need any negativity like that, but, you know, we can coerce images out of people, but that's forgiven. But please, if you are watching this as well, don't go and harass Adrian or his family members, please. Do something better with your life. Thank you very much, guys. But I think I've made my points, or my thoughts, my opinions very clear. Could be hella divisive. So I'm interested to see the comments when this particular video goes out. I'm of course going to go take a look at the original video's comments. Treat this as a regular video in that we'll do a tantalizing talk section. I'm interested to see what people are saying. I anticipate a lot of people giving him props, giving him respect. I just feel like it's important to say that I too think it's commendable that he's reached out in this manner to apologize. Respect. Look, it's not my place to really have respect, if that makes sense. I just don't... If I respect him or not, does it make a difference? I don't really think so, right? If Julia respects him for it, that's her prerogative. If the team respect it, that's their prerogative. My having respect or not doesn't change a thing. I will say it's commendable he's come on here taking some level of accountability. If you want to believe it or not is another question. I do think there were sincere parts about it. I didn't really hear an apology specifically regarding the intimate images. I bloody hope they're deleted. That's another thing that really wasn't addressed here. I bloody hope they're deleted. Because it's one thing to apologize for it, and it's another thing to have them still in your phone and you look at them whenever you want. And then on the flip side, continue speaking to her. I hope they're deleted. So we'll go now, look at the comments. I'm very interested to see what people are saying. Timestamp, let me know your thoughts as well. And I'll be back in a second. Yes, everyone, before we get into the tantalizing talk section, I think it's now appropriate to show you my comment left on Julia's response video. So on the screen right now, here is the video. This is her channel. Go support her.
What the is going on in here on this day?
My comment is as follows. Glad to hear you seemingly are in a better place, Julia. I believe you've learned from this whole experience, and I hope you'll be able to avoid such things in the future. Remember, it's not just romance scams / catfishes out there. Anything seems too good to be true, or you think it's fishy / makes you question anything, don't engage. I know you forgave Adrian, but just for future reference, be careful with who you forgive and give your trust to. Not everyone deserves a second chance. She does mention people have the attention span of a walnut because some people were asking where her parents are, when in the original video, she did say that her parents are not involved in her life. I also say some people's attention spans are indeed that of a walnut. Trust me, I know from some of the comments I receive. And yes, there are many peoples out there. You must be a walnut, okay? You're a tough nut to crack, okay? Just chill out, get a grip of yourself. And I'll also go on to say that her sprinkling in memes in the video, it reminded me a lot of my videos and all the other people who sprinkle in memes. And I give her, obviously, like, you know, go, if you want to do YouTube, do it. Best time to start is now, as they say. So now we're gonna go over to the tantalizing talk section. My goodness me, when I finished the recording of the commentary set, it was 40-ish minutes, right? Yes, the original apology thing is 15 minutes. Somehow this video probably ends up over an hour. Apologize. I've got a lot to say about this, apparently. So let's go. First up on the tantalizing talk section, let's just get the creepiness out the way, shall we? What's Julia's at? How old are you? Okay, that's the only question I have for you. How old are you? And we'll throw in another question. Why? What do you want with her at? Get a grip of yourselves, okay? Please, to all the creeps that are somehow out there. Not somehow, because it's not surprising that there's creeps. The amount of people in this world who are wrong-uns, it doesn't surprise me anymore. So I just wanted to put that out there, just straight away, get it out of the way. It's a bit creepy. How old are you? Oh my goodness. Too many creeps are in comment sections now. It's concerning. Next up is quite a lengthy comment, and there are a few comments where I'm going to be reading quite extensively. So let's hope my brain to mouth connection stays intact and I don't bloody self-combust trying to read. Hey, my dad told me that a boy/man should always behave himself towards me as though my dad was standing right there. If he says and does anything to me that he wouldn't dare say or do in front of my father, have nothing to do with him. He's a disrespectful creep that wants to use me and is only thinking of himself and his selfish pleasure. And that I should also conduct myself as though my dad was right there. I believe and agree with my dad since he is the one and only man who wants what's best for me and not what's in it for him or what he gets out of it. Now, this person's father, I think, is a great man. I agree with this sentiment. Now, obviously, there are times where perhaps people are going to do what they're going to do, right? Her sending images of herself. I just don't recommend her do that in the future anyway, right? Regardless, if you're using my father wouldn't like this type notion or not, please refrain from sending such images. It's just, it can go very bad, okay? But on the man aspect side of things here, I just don't think Adrian was really respectful of Julia. You know, he can chuck in that bloody thing in the beginning of, you know, he wanted to not hurt her, so he ghosted and stuff. I guess if you really think ghosting is a good way to go about things, you can see someone is emotionally invested in this catfish story you've presented, but sure, I'll ghost you, because that in itself is a great way to reconcile things. I just don't think he had any respect at any point up until family members were being harassed and he wanted to clear his name, etc. So, please, I agree with this person's father's advice. I think it's very good. It's how I'm going to navigate potentially raising a child in the future. Who knows if I'll ever have children, right? But if I do have the privilege of having children, I'll be like this. Editing H here, just chiming in really quickly, hopefully, to also say that yes, ghosting is also disrespectful, right? That's why I bring up the whole respect aspect of this. Because even if you are wanting to break things off with someone for whatever reason, maybe you're uncomfortable, maybe you're no longer interested in them, who knows, right? The context will vary, right? If you're ghosting someone who is a legitimate creep, all power to you. They don't, who cares if they get upset you've not responded, right? But in a case like this, where Julia, as I mentioned, is emotionally invested, how do you even think not hurting her revolves around you not even responding? Like, this is what I was talking about earlier. I have to believe he was aware of how attached she was. So, if you are in a position, you're dating someone, obviously this is a different example, but if you want to break things off with someone, don't ghost them. Just let them know. And, ghosting people can sometimes trigger insecurities and is a whole host of other things. So please just, if warranted, of course, right? Just let people know you're not interested or anything like that. The next comment is a very important question that I also had. Has he deleted the intimate pictures? An apology is good, but the pictures he coerced her into sending are very concerning, as that was a huge violation. I hope he is truly sorry and has deleted all the images from all his devices and cloud. This young woman is very kind and a bit naive. As she gets older, she will see just how manipulative he was in this situation. They may be the same age, but he still took advantage of her sweet nature in using her for explicit pics, and there was a reply that said, "He does not have the photos, if you're wondering how I know this. He's a personal friend of mine. He showed us the YouTube video the second it was published and told all of us that it was better to come forward rather than I was finding out, so we've been tracking this step by step." Now, obviously take it with a pinch of salt if this is his genuine friend or not. However, regardless if this is or not, I truly hope the images have been deleted. It's one thing, again, to do all this apologizing, etc., and then it's another thing to go above and beyond, which is, you shouldn't be having to go above and beyond to delete such images, because it should just be the norm. It shouldn't be seen as going above and beyond. You should just delete them straight away anyway. But I digress. I really hope that they are deleted. And I cannot emphasize enough how glad I am to have seen a comment sort of on the same wavelength as me, in hoping Julia sees when she's older just how manipulative this all is. She might not realize it now, and they're friends or whatever, but you will realize, hopefully, in the future, how detrimental this type of relationship, platonic or not, is. Please, Julia, I'm begging. The next comment is an interesting one. Please let me know your thoughts. He was a kid that did something stupid and came clean about it when he didn't have to. He's not the same as an overseas scammer trying to drain people financially with no regret. Let him and his family move on. Now, of course, devil's advocate, is the regret genuine? Guess we'll never know, right? Remaining as objective as possible. Who knows? Is he on the same level as a scammer? I mean, look, it's a slippery path, right? Considering the fact that he's done something stupid before, and he didn't learn then. He did it again with Julia. Hey, what's to say he doesn't do it again, It's very concerning, and this is where I really hope a therapist comes into play, because, as I mentioned, if he's done it before, and he's done it again, there is the chance he does it again. But let me know your thoughts, everyone. Yes, he did something stupid. He's done it twice. Cannot emphasize that enough.
What are you doing?
But in terms of letting the family move on, I agree, they've got nothing to do with it. But also, he's got to move on as well. For the rest of his life, you can't hark back to this. If he doesn't bloody learn his lesson, and he does this again though, and he displays perhaps manipulative behavior in other ways to other people, then you've got to step in professionally at some point. But if he does fix up, quote unquote, then yeah, you got to let him move on. Juliana here has a good point. Lying has consequences, and this is a good example of it. Don't catfish and play with people's emotions. Hard way to learn this lesson. I'm glad there is a happy ending. So rare in these cases. Now, my thoughts on this being happy is not happy, because I still believe Julia forgiving him is not really ideal, because I just don't think it creates an environment of learning. You know, people apparently can just do what they want, but they'll be forgiven. In some cases, cool, forgive, you know, but I believe some people don't deserve second chances. I'm not particularly saying in this instance, does he deserve it or not? Let me know your thoughts. But in terms of Julia forgiving him, I wouldn't have recommended it. I personally wouldn't want my child to forgive someone like this. Just cut them out of your life entirely. But everything has consequences. I feel like he didn't really learn it, but I hope he did. The next comment also raises a good point. He's only talking about himself and his family and friends. I do understand he wants to protect them, but it would have been better for him to first realize and talk about how he hurt Julia. The good point raised here is that I understand too that he wants to protect friends and family. And to give him credit in any way, he did mention Julia and not wanting to hurt her in the beginning, and that's why he ghosted. But a lot of the time, he is talking about himself. Now, I'm not an expert on reading people. Of course, I'm only just giving my opinions of what I can see on the screen. But it was a lot of me. I felt this. Sorry if I did this. It's not really an apology. And more so, I'm covering my bacon. But let me know your thoughts, everyone. The next comment I do agree with, but also not at the same time. Great for him for the public apology, but he seems manipulative with his personality. I hope he has a therapist. Actually, nah, a psychologist. Someone let me know in the comments the difference between a therapist and a psychologist. I obviously know there must be some sort of distinction there, but I'd love to know in detail, really. The part I don't agree with here is the great for him for the public apology. Because it is a good thing, but if it's genuine, it's a good thing. So does that mean I don't agree with it? Not necessarily. There's just caveats involved. But the rest of the comment, I do agree with. I do think he is seemingly, right, manipulative in how he speaks, his personality, etc. But let me know your thoughts. Now, in reply to a comment that mentioned wanting the best for Julia and it's best to avoid Adrian, Julia did actually reply to it, so I think it's interesting to share her reply. We don't even talk much. It's just a casual friendship, more like acquaintances. I have a boyfriend and I'm not romantically interested in him. I really am confused by this comment because in the video she mentions that they're closer than ever or something along those lines. They know more about each other than themselves and it's a close friendship or something. But then in the comments, you're describing it as a casual friendship. I'm not really sure which one I'm supposed to be believing here, but I do hope it's the actual text comment that is the reality. If you are going to some reason have this guy in your life, it's at arm's length. Maybe if you want to take a few steps more back, right, so that it's like several arms lengths, I can even get more on board with that. But I hope this person is not in your life in a way where you're just gaming with them and you're treating things as normal, because then actually you would need to get a grip, Julia, in the nicest way possible, okay? I must emphasize, in the nicest way possible. Do not allow such a manipulative person to, and it's just seemingly, because I'm not a bloody professional, right? But you can't let people who have seen your body exposed in such a way, you just can't let them lie to you and then just hang around. It's not the way to live life, all right? So I hope it's a casual friendship at the bare minimum, okay? The next comment is an interesting one. Why is it always an Adrian? I swear it feels like there's been so many Adrians, but there's only been 2. But it feels like it's a name I've heard since the beginning of the year. And I say that as if it's been a millennium, but it does seem like there's a lot of Adrian talk recently. Just Adrians of the world, stop it. The next comment is interesting. Hello, here with H. Potato. Hello, revolving nature of the potato. I don't know what that just means, but hello. I'm very surprised to see someone saying hello to me. Hello. Maybe you thought I would pick this out for this section. Hello. But I also replied hello, but hello. You know, if you've made it this far in the video, do a waving emoji, please. Or type wave. It can even be the water wave. You know, the sea wave emoji? Any wave. Get creative. But hello. Now, the next comment sort of sums up everything I've been saying. And before anyone says you could have just looked at this comment and made this section 30 seconds long, yeah, but I like to just sit here and talk because the camera is an escape, okay? Life is lifing. I need to speak to someone. And you guys are there for me. Please, forgive me. I'm glad Adrian came forward, and I hope he gets the help and changes. I'm concerned that Julia considers him such a close friend still. I get forgiving him, maybe still play games sometimes, but I hope they never meet up. It's concerning that Julia, so young, is developing a trust or comfort with building relationships with liars. He may not be a bad person, but be careful with who you choose as friends. And I commented similar on Julia's video, just for future reference, just be very careful, okay? There will come a point, I believe, where you need to reconsider the people you hang around with. Now, I'm not sure if that's the case for everyone. Let me know in the comments if you've been through something similar. But I had to take a step back and look at the people that I'm chilling with and sort of acknowledge that this is not the best path to be going down, right? So, for one reason or another, there's going to be people in your life that are not good for you, that they might be abusive to you and you're not recognizing red flags in this instance, or they might be heading down a pathway which is not beneficial for your future, so to speak, and it's just not ideal for you to go along and build something with them. Just break free and become your own person. Now, you infer whatever you want to infer from those meanings because it's going to be different for everyone. The people around you are going to be different, and you're going to know yourself, hopefully, what's best for you truly. But I hope Julia learns that, yes, forgiving is okay. It is the sign of a good-spirited person, I guess, but if that makes me a bad-spirited person, in me not forgiving any and everyone, I'm happy to be a bad-spirited person, because not everyone deserves an apology. Not everyone deserves to be forgiven. But actually, you could argue not everyone deserves an apology, because, I mean, if they're abusive and they've gaslit you into thinking you have to apologize for something. No. How about suck your big toe, mate? I don't need to apologize. You are displaying very, very disgusting behavior. But obviously that's I'm talking about something different here. And please, if you need professional support in escaping an abusive relationship, I do urge you seek professional support, and hopefully you work with someone who is able to make you realize, you can feel in love with this person, but it's detrimental to your overall health. The next comment is another quite lengthy one, and I said it earlier, we're getting past 1 hour on this video, and I'm actually surprised at my bloody self for that. I hope Adrian can also identify his coercive and manipulative behaviors. He needs to understand he didn't force Julia's hand to take pictures, but he 100% coerced her. Even when she expressed discomfort, he still pressed for photos in a conniving way. The issue wasn't just him lying about his identity. This is why so many people thought he was older, because he has those same behaviors as an older creeper preying on younger women. I don't agree with people harassing him or his family who had nothing to do with what he did. Adrian is still young, and I have hope he can grow. He just needs to build confidence in himself and learn how to be more empathetic. They are both mature. Mature? I guess so, because, look, it is potentially one of the more mature things we've seen on this show. Like, two young adults coming on the screen, and look, young adults is maybe a stretch because I still call them kids, but I know some people will call them young adults given their age, but I think they're still kids, right? But in terms of him building his confidence, I still think we're sort of leaning on the insecurity as an excuse of why he did what he did. Building confidence in yourself and being insecure and etc., it doesn't mean you do this. Whatever you're going through in life, as traumatic as it is, and again, my condolences for what his family have gone through with the home and the harassment as well. This just isn't a good reasoning to lie to someone like this. Hopefully that makes sense. The next comment, I'm surprised, actually, to see people still bringing this particular notion up. He is way more sincere than how Julia totally rejected him for being chubby, right after complaining how her friends said she can't get a cute guy because she is chubby. I understand that people were, I guess, feeling a type of way for her muted down or toned down reaction to them revealing who Adrian actually was behind the pictures, and people are thinking there's some sort of malicious intent with it. I get people are gonna obviously think what they think, but I don't see it that way, and I said it in the original video. Donnie lied to her for so long, and you expect her to be, thank you for showing me the real person behind the images. I'm so in love right now. I really want to start things up again with him. Like, what's going on here? Let's get a grip, please. People are alike to like. People are allowed to like who they like. Okay? We've looked at videos in the past about dating and people making a certain aspect about themselves their personality trait and forcing people to like them for who they are, when in actuality that's not how bloody life works. Okay, if you like someone, great. If someone doesn't like you, don't force them to like you. Like, it doesn't work like that, because then how do you know this person likes you genuinely for you, or you've bloody coerced them into liking you? Do you know what I mean? A lot of coercion talk in this, but I think it's important. Editing H here, just really interrupting really quickly, just to say that we're now in this following little section going to talk about sextortion and a trigger warning from now. Of course, I'll put a timestamp at the bottom. You can skip ahead if you are not comfortable hearing the discussion of people taking their life as a result of sextortion and nude exchanges and stuff like that. So this is a little trigger warning, especially given their age, because sextortion scams in general are very, very damaging. But I see a lot of sextortion scams involving younger individuals, and a lot of young individuals do take their life as a result of such things. So I think it's important we crack down on them, and that's why it might seem like I'm coming across harsh here in terms of how I would, I guess, deal with Adrian's behavior here and how accepting I am of his apology. But if this went way left even further, and that way is right on your screens, but I am pointing left, okay? If this went considerably left, and Julia, you know, I'm not even going to, you get what I'm trying to say? There are so many stories of individuals taking their own life because of things like this, images like this. You just don't know early on him doing this kind of thing where it will go to. And my throat is getting scratchy now. I'm getting a bit angry, and does that make sense? And lastly, I think it's fitting we end on another just shit comment, because apparently the comment sections on the original videos are just turning either into cesspools of bigotry or creeps. And then, of course, you have 95% of people who are decent people. Henry says, I think they should date after all of this. I'm just going to stand up here because I need to air out my booty because it's sweating the hell out at me reading such a BS comment, okay? Because not only are you interjecting yourself in a young person's love life, why? I don't know. But you genuinely think that when someone does what Adrian did to someone, forget it all. Forget it all. Be together, because that's romantic. I'd love to hear what the vows on the shitting wedding day sound like. I'd love to hear what the best man speech would be. Huh? Do you guys remember when he catfished her and like coerced her into images? But it's all good though. I'm done. I'm done because I feel like this video probably is way too long than it needed to be. I apologize. Let me know all your thoughts, everyone. But I do sincerely apologize because I feel like it's come across that I'm heated in this and how strongly I feel about this topic. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Please look after yourselves. Okay, and I echo the sentiment from the original commentary. You got any young people in your life? Make sure they're educated about manipulative behavior, if possible, okay? Let them know of red flags. Tell them don't send naughty images of themselves. You bloody don't send naughty images of yourself as well watching this. Nobody should do it. Ultimately, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it because I ain't got power in your life. Do you know, I'm a rat boy on the other side of the screen sat in a chair. There's only so much I can do. I just recommend you don't do it because you never know, all right? So, see you, everyone. It's a long one, so bye. That's how long it was. Like the peace.